Cludging together Windows apps in Linux with Wine and X11 tools, this time on Hak5.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. This is your weekly dose of Technolist. I'm your host, Darren Kitchen.
My name is Shannon Morse.
Yes, I did it backwards this time.
You did. I was like, where do I go from here?
Where do we go? I don't know.
So,
like trained monkeys up in here. We really are. It's called being a podcaster. Don't try it.
So following up on last week's episode on text-to-speech engines for Linux, we are taking a look at another that, well, okay, I'm going to break it to you. It's not for Linux. It's for Windows. I know. Broke my heart too. Darren, why are you doing this to us? I realize that I use Windows, but that's mostly because I don't own this.
I'm bringing blasphemy into the world of open source because we can. Because I'm a huge fan of TTS or text-to-speech. It's a great way to listen to articles, especially when you're supposed to be working. And I got used to one in Windows where I would listen to so many amazing ones from Commander Taco and all the gang at Slashdot that just got sold, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the end of an era. And so what's happened, though, is when I was a child, I'm going to move on from that one. I'm just having hackers references in my head.
Okay.
Eyes and Fruit Loops. So the idea here is that I've moved on to Linux and I missed this one app for Windows. And I know I could just get used to the text-to-speech apps like eSpeaker Festival I showed you guys last week. But I figured, hey, what better way than to show you some hacky workaround in Linux?
Of course.
It's going to be fun.
Right.
It builds on X11 tools like from last week and it introduces some cool Python stuff. And Wine.
I love Wine.
Wine's not an emulator.
No, I'm serious. I love Wine. Come on, let's just,
No.
Screw work. I'm
so
ready.
we're
Let's
talking
go.
about
We're going to go to the wine store.
the cellar.
No?
Yes.
Cellar?
Okay,
We're near Napa.
I'll leave her in the cellar. Yes, we are near
Never
Napa.
mind.
We should have a fan meetup at a winery. That's going to end
a terrible
poorly.
idea.
So, Wine is not an emulator. It's actually an app that allows you to run Windows apps in Linux. And this particular one couldn't be easier. Seriously, it's like no dependency hell or anything. So here's an example. I'm just going to pull it up. Speakonia is the name of it.
It is the kind of wine I like.
All right.
You saw the picture.
Oh yeah, actually, there you go. And so here's our example from last week. And so I'm going to just paste this in here and hit play so you can hear this guy. Okay, so there's enough of that.
Sounds terrible.
It does sound pretty terrible, but I like it.
Okay, well that's cool. So you're going to make it do the thing. How are you going to do this? Are you going to pipe it into Excel?
I wish we could do it like we did last week, just take an Excel.
So it doesn't work like Festival and eSpeak do?
No,
but it's so easy.
No, of course not, because it's not a native Linux app. It doesn't adhere to the beauty. When you realize, like that example last week was like nothing, just taking PS and aux and piping it to grep and awk. Dude, I've seen commands that stretch the terminal. It's amazing how many things you can pipe to other things that you can pipe to other things that you get the idea.
How do we do it?
But it's the Windows app, so it doesn't adhere to that beauty, but it does allow you to open a file systematically. So get this. You could, in Windows, say notepad.exe space like a file, and it would open up that file in Notepad. Fantastic. We can do sort of the same thing, and since we can pipe Excel to a different file, I'm going to show you a little demo, and it all makes sense.
Okay.
So here we go. I'm going to, in this case, let's say I'm going to do Excel, and it'll just give me all of that snurb stuff. Yes, it is beautiful. Now I want to take that and pipe it to /tmp/test file, right? Now if I cat that test file, you can see there it is. Okay, so we've written a file by using this operator here. And what that does is instead of printing the output of this command to our terminal like it did in the previous example where we didn't, it's actually going to send it into this file. And it's going to overwrite anything that's in there. If we wanted to append to it, we could just put 2 of these wakas, and then it would append to that file. And then when we cat that file, it'll be even longer if I had more stuff selected. So now we have a text file that has all of that. Well, what's beautiful is I can, using Wine, just go ahead and open this program with that text file already open, and then this text-to-speech program for Linux will already be populated with this text.
Okay.
And well, you know what? If we're going to do that, we might as well just make it prettier too and hackier, which brings us to some really fun and amazing X11 tools. So,
yay! Yay!
We talked about one of them last week, which was X11. I just showed you an
Yes.
example. But XDo tool does just about anything for X windows, from getting the active window to setting the focus of the active window to moving the mouse and clicking and pressing keys and typing text and more.
Okay.
Similarly, WMCTL is CTRL, or Window Manager Control maybe? I'm not sure what WMCTRL stands for, but it's another tool that will interact with X very similarly.
So this is it sounds kind of like you're scripting with a USB rubber ducky.
Sort of like. Scripting for the USB rubber ducky, if you're not familiar, you type string hello world,
Except you're not
plug in the
using
duck, and it
kid.
types hello world. The difference here is while this allows us to do like typing and clicking and all that stuff, it's not. It's systematic because it's part of the operating system. So we can tell,
That's
we can
cool.
say like, make this the focus window, which is good because you want to know that you're typing into the right program.
Of course.
And both of these programs are just awesome.
Okay.
They're command line tools that let you, it bridges the gap between the command line and the GUI. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I figured this will actually allow us to build upon this with a little bit of Python scripting, and
Yay, Python scripting!
yeah, we
okay.
can make it do even more. So let me show you
I'm
an
excited
example.
to see the Python script.
I've written one right here, and I'll open that in Sublime because I don't do Atom. And let's see, it's called speakonia.py. And so let me make this a little bigger for you.
Oh, good thing it's short.
Yeah, it's really short. And actually, this could have easily been a bash script, but you know, why not? Why not import OS in time? So the first thing that it actually does is we create this file in /tmp called speakonia, and we set it up to be written to. And then we run this command xcel, which ends up getting written to that file. So what we end up with is /tmp/speakonia, and it gets whatever came from xcel.
Okay.
Very much the same way that we just did that, except to /tmp/speakonia. There we
Gotcha.
go.
Okay.
So then the next thing is that we're going to kill any instance of speakonia that's already running. There's an important reason for this. Because if we didn't, then every single time I hit the shortcut key, I'll have like a million versions of this open.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. And then the whole system will just run amok. So we have to specify, we're going to set a variable called kill command, and it's this, it's kill, and in this case we're actually just using ps-aux this time instead of just doing kill all. Why? Well, I don't know. Sometimes you just get used to old ways.
Oh, and you're still using the same command where you're awking the second column.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm getting it.
Yeah, so the other big difference in this case, though, is that we're also sending the output of it to dev null because we don't care about the rest of the stuff.
Right, of course.
And that's what this guy does here, because we don't care about hearing any output from it. So that just sends it to the ether.
Okay.
Which, like, if I did mv snubs to /dev/null, we would no, I won't do it. We'd end
That
up with some.
happened once before. It took a long time to get me back.
Right. Don't know if you guys watch to the very ends of the episodes, but you should.
I don't appreciate that.
Okay. The next thing that we do is we actually run this command. So this next popen so it runs this command, which was set in that variable, and then get this, ampersand, which is a fun thing in bash. What amp means is, as opposed to like, you know, using a semicolon to string a bunch of commands together, which I could do. Let me show you an example of a semicolon in bash doing the thing. So I could do ls, right, and it's going to give me all that stuff. And I could do ls semicolon cat/tmp/ what did we call it, test file. And you see it does this followed by that, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, what amp does is says, hey, if this command is successful, continue on and do that.
Oh, okay, cool.
Which is awesome because if the first command wasn't successful, then it's not going to do anything.
Right.
Which is kind of cool.
That's handy.
It is. So in this case, what we'll end up doing is we'll kill speakonia with this command here, and then we'll run whine, and then the, you know, / yada yada yada.
So it's running speakonia.
Run speakonia, and then it passes speakonia parameter, which is /tmp/speakonia, that file that we just wrote with xcel.
Okay.
And then the rest we just pipe to dev null because we don't care about seeing any of the other stuff. Okay, so that basically opens up speakonia with our with whatever text we had selected. So WMCTRL is going to allow us to activate that window. Then we'll sleep for about a half a second, and using XDo tool key F5, you want to imagine what XDo tool key F5 does?
What?
presses the F5 key.
Really?
Yeah, check this out. So we can even have it type if we wanted to. So we could actually have X2Tool, instead of doing this, this method where we actually open up Speakonia with that temp file.
Yeah.
The reason we do that is because it's like super fast, but if we wanted to, we could just open up Speakonia, and then using the X2 tool, we could type whatever's in X-select or Excel.
Okay.
So, but the problem with using the type command is it's not very fast.
Right.
Well, I mean, it's fast, but like if you, it's like a giant article from the New York Times or something.
It's not going to be super fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this key F5, all it does is press the F5 key. So if I pop open Speakonia now and put a bunch of stuff in there, if I press F5, or you can actually see under Tools, or sorry, Speech, play is F5. Stop is F7. So, or Alt F4 to just close the thing.
Okay.
And no, we don't want to save it. Okay, so this sleep half a second, again, this is like a bit of a hack, but you know, it works, so why not?
Okay.
We're gonna
So you're sleeping and giving it enough time to copy, basically.
Yeah, because otherwise, like the window will pop up, but you know, what if my system's running slow and it takes it a
Yeah.
half a second to pop up? So we don't want to hit F5, very similarly to Ducky script.
Gotcha.
So with that, the last part of this is to actually go back to the active window. So what we do here is we minimize. This tool right here, X2 tool, will search for a window with the visible name Speakonia, which is kind of like PS aux and grepping for Speakonia. What we're saying is, you know, X2 tool, find the window that has this. And let me
Find
just,
the Speakonia window.
yes, and let me actually pop it up here and show you an example. So I've got that going, and I'll just paste that, and I'll end it with a quote. Oops, there we go. And these are the numbers of the actual windows.
Oh,
or as long
okay.
as, just similarly to how we have the numbers for the process ID, but this
Yeah.
is something specific to X.
To each window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and actually, because it's in wine and all of that other stuff, we end up with a few. They saw it. Bummer. We end up with a few windows, which is okay because we really only need the first one.
Okay.
Which is why we have this head TAC 1. So it gets the first one. That's what. So we pipe the output to head TAC 1.
Cool.
So that ends up becoming our window. Similar to how at the very top of the script we set a current window to be X2 tool get active window. So if I run
Gotcha.
this, it's going to tell me the number of, well, this window, and there we go.
Your
That's,
one active window.
yes, the window that I'm currently in.
Okay.
So what's the reason for this is because we've set this to be current, whatever I was in when I hit this program, and window to be Speakonia. So what it means we can do is X2 tool minimize window plus whatever that output was. So remember, we had just figured out the number for this window here using get active window?
Yeah.
Well, watch this. If I say X2 tool window minimize and grab the output of that, well,
Oh, you have to grab the number, right?
oops, sorry. The $sign goes on the outside. Boom. It minimized
Oh.
my terminal window. And so I can
Oh,
bring it
because
back
it was
there.
the active one. You
Because
don't
it
even
was
have
the
to
active
put
one.
the number there.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So the idea is that we find out the number of Speakonia and then we
Cool.
minimize it. So I don't know, it's really fun to script GUI components because you're like, wait, okay, so I'm familiar with bash scripting. Now all of a
Yeah.
sudden I can do cool stuff with the GUI?
That's awesome.
So I just thought this is a fun example because there's lots of cool things you can do with it.
Yeah, of course. I want to see it run, though.
Yes, well then that brings us to the last line. The final thing is just to set the current focus and activate current. So current was whatever it was when we first opened this
yeah.
program. So that means if, for instance, I'm in Firefox or Chrome and
So
I
that
select
way
some
you don't
text.
have to manually go back to Firefox or Chrome once Speakonia is open and done.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So let's do an example of just that. So I'm going to go ahead and fire up Firefox and pull up snubzyboo.com. Is that it?
Snubsy.com.
Snubzy.
Go to my portfolio.
All right.
There's a bunch of text at portfolio.
Cool. So I'm going to select this paragraph here, and just like last week when we made these keyboard shortcuts, I'm going to go to Shortcuts and show you this custom shortcut I've created called Speakonia. And what it does is that Python file.
Oh.
And what the kill speakonia does is, well, it kills it, right?
Okay.
And actually, I'm not using kill all, like, old habits. And I've set this to Super C and Super V, or the Windows key plus C or the Windows key plus V. So now, wait, what?
That was awesome.
That was not it. Let me select, whoops. Let me select this paragraph and hit Super C.
There it goes.
Cool. So there you go.
I understood it. Yes.
Ah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I know, like, you may have no interest whatsoever in running wine programs or text-to-speech engines, but it's really fun to be able to use these examples because these are actually real-world things that I use.
Wine is cool.
And it's because I had a problem, I had an itch, and I was like, surely somebody else has had a need to interface with other X windows systematically. So it's really fun to be able to just build on other programs. And what's your itch?
This is awesome. I actually think this would be extremely useful because we had an email from a fan who's visually impaired, and he was asking about ways that he can better use the internet, for example.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, using text-to-speech, especially if you can just set it up so automatically, that can extremely help his life.
Oh yes.
Such a great idea.
And actually, a lot of this, like, all of these hacks, everything comes together, starts out as a hack, and then it just gets refined, and then it's a product. But they're all hacks. We could show off the hacks with the buttons that people have been asking about that uses a very similar technique, but in Windows. So let us know if you'd like to know about that. Feedback@hak5.org is the address.
And I think we should take a quick break before we wrap it up.
Yes, I think we shall. When you get that great idea, you're going to need yourself a great domain. And if you're like Shannon and I, you'll love using domain.com because there's nothing simpler. They have an intuitive domain discovery system and an easy checkout process that'll get your website up and online in no time. And they've been supporting Hak5 for years now, so you can show your support back by using their coupon code just for us. It's HAK5 or Hak5. Drop that in at checkout to save yourself an extra 15% off, or shoot them a tweet at domain.com and say, hey, thanks for supporting Hak5. When you think domain names, think domain.com. That just about wraps up this week's episode of Hak5.
Yes, but before we leave, Mubix with Metasploit Minute, Sebastian, who's the software dev for the Wi-Fi Pineapple, Darren Kitchen, hosting a new pen test with Hak5 class on March 11th through 13th. It's a weekend. Super, super fun. Really cool story-driven training. Nothing that you've really seen before in InfoSec training. So pentestwithhak5.com if you want to check that out. Still have a few seats available, so definitely register if you're interested in that.
Yes, at least when we're recording this. Otherwise, we hope to maybe expand it out. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
If you can't make it to the class, however, you can get the awesome tools that are included, such as our brand new Wi-Fi Pineapple Nano, and you can find those details and find all the fun tools like the Land Turtle and the USB rubber duck you were talking about earlier. All of that at our very own hakshop.com, and that's what keeps us going. Thank you so much for your direct support in that regard. It feels awesome.
Nano!
Why is she a Wookiee?
Feedback@hak5.org. That's where you can send us segment ideas, drop tips, anything that you want to, you can send over there to our email. We all read them. We don't have time to answer them all, but thank you very much for emailing us. And you can also find all of our other shows like ThreatWire, Metasploit Minute, Pineapple University, and so much more at hak5.org.
Yes, and you know what? Actually, if you're on our YouTube, scroll to the very bottom because you'll find our vloggy vlogs, because you got to go and subscribe to the Snubs Report.
Oh,
yeah, it's right there at the bottom. So
oh gosh.
everybody go and subscribe to the Snurbs and leave good feedback.
Yeah, I'm doing a vlog. You can find it if you follow me on Twitter. But
yeah, or don't if you don't want to see unicorns
There's
farting
unicorns
rainbows. Yeah.
Pooping
Okay.
rainbows.
Hey, if you would like to see us continue going too, you can also just subscribe, like, share, all that social stuff. You can leave a review on iTunes. All of that stuff, it really does go a long way, and it's what's been keeping us going. And thank you all for keeping Hak5 going for over the last 10 years. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Shannon Morse.
Trust your technolust.
Yay!
Do you want to be on the podcast?
No.
She does not want to be on the podcast. We're being very careful right now because Kirby
She's
is
stepping on the mixer.
on the video mixer.
She can very likely
She could change the cameras right now.
Oh, no.
Oh,
She changed
she's
her
not-
mind.
Yeah, she's not going for it.
We're good.
We're good.
There you go. Yeah, just, you know,
Just
type on the script.
Format,
It's all good.
/. I'm gonna just mv
Oh, no.
snubs /dev/null.
Oh, no!
Oh, not again.